Welcome to our video about the fascinating world of Pokémon and their placement on the Tree of Life. Today, we take a closer look at Rapidash and its relationship with Nidoking and Nidoqueen as they are both part of the Perissodactyla clade. Ready? Let's go! The Equidae represent the members of the horse family, also partially known as odd-toed ungulates, within the order of Perissodactyla. This family was originally very extensive but now includes only the genus Equus, comprising domestic horses, Przewalski's horses, and various species of donkeys and zebras. The last true wild horse species, the tarpan, became extinct in the 18th and 19th centuries. The evolutionary history of the horse family began as early as the early Eocene, around 56 million years ago, and is one of the most extensive and well-documented histories of a mammalian group. Today's horses, due to their preference for tough grass-based diets and their lifestyle in open landscapes, are the most specialized representatives within the order of odd-toed ungulates. Modern horses are medium to large mammals, with a body length ranging from 200 to 300 centimeters and a shoulder height of about 110 to 150 centimeters. Their weight varies between 175 and 450 kilograms. Distinctive features include a robust body, long limbs, and a long neck with a large head and high-crowned, hypsodont, molars. Additionally, their mane and long, tail-like hair, reaching lengths of over 110 centimeters, are notable, though the bony structure of the tail typically reaches only half this length. The most characteristic feature of modern horses, however, is their hands and feet, each consisting of only one functional toe, which is why the current representatives are also called odd-toed ungulates. Extinct members of the horse group could grow significantly larger, and some domestic horse breeds today exceed the dimensions of their wild ancestors. In contrast, earlier members of Equidae displayed markedly different appearances. The earliest representatives, like Scyphorpus, as well as the horse-like Hyracotherium or Propaleotherium, all from the early to mid-Eocene, were very small, weighing sometimes less than 10 kilograms. In their physique, with slender limbs and a distinctly convexly curved spine, they resembled other early perissodactyls. Moreover, their forelimbs had 4 toes, and their hind limbs had 3, an archaic feature only retained today by tapirs among perissodactyls. The convexly shaped spine is interpreted as an adaptation to life in a more enclosed, forested environment, where they lived as shy bush dwellers. Distinguishing early equid genera from other basal perissodactyls, like the concurrently appearing early tapir-like Hyraceus, is largely based on dental differences. The gradual evolution to the modern morphology, featuring a characteristically straight spine and a single functional toe per limb, occurred progressively. The increase in leg length and body weight coincided with the stiffening of the lumbar section of the spinal column. This development resulted in the typical stiff gallop of modern horses, distinctly different from the flexible sprint of other fast-running mammals such as cheetahs. The reduction in the number of toes progressed from the original 4-toed, tetradactyl, horses, through 3-toed, tridactyl, forms, to the single-toed, monodactyl, structure seen today. The first single-toed horses, odd-toed ungulates, appeared during the Miocene. The reduction in the number of toes also led to changes in their gait. While early horses walked on the front part of their hands and feet, toe walkers, later forms touched the ground only with the final phalanx, tiptoe walkers, a characteristic also observed in today's horses, Equus. The evolution of monodactyly is limited to the most recent developmental phase of horses within the tribe Equini. The true uniqueness of the horse's foot does not lie in the reduction of toes or the presence of a single functional toe per limb. Rather, the key evolutionary change was the transition from a relatively flat foot of toe walkers to the steeper foot of tiptoe walkers, a development that occurred much earlier and is also traceable in 3-toed horses. One suggested cause for the monodactyly of modern horses and their close relatives is a dietary shift toward more extensive migrations in open landscapes. However, studies in 2021 found this factor only partially influential during the individual developmental phases of the horse's foot. Broader geological events, such as the Grande Coupure at the transition from the Eocene to the Oligocene or the Great American Biotic Interchange during the Pliocene caused by the formation of the land bridge between North and South America, played a larger role. Horses adapted more strongly to these changes through climate-driven alterations in their habitat or the availability of new environments, either by species thinning or by exploiting newly accessible habitats. In general, a reduced number of toes minimizes friction between the foot and substrate, which is advantageous for faster gaits like trotting and galloping in open landscapes. The transformation of the horse's body also includes changes in the musculoskeletal system. For instance, the distal ends of the metapodials and odd-toed ungulates developed nearly circular joint surfaces, covering about 270 degrees and featuring a central sagittal ridge in modern horses. This adaptation allowed for better and more extensive longitudinal movements while preventing sideways deviation of the toe bones. Horses from the early Miocene, such as Mesohippus, had less developed joint ends that covered only 150 degrees and lacked a well-formed central ridge. Additionally, the knee joint underwent transformation, becoming increasingly asymmetrical over time. The inner articular roll at the lower end of the femur, thigh bone, grew disproportionately compared to the outer one. This structure, known as the tuberculum trochlei, facilitates fatigue-resistant fixation of the hind limbs. The process of developing an asymmetrical knee joint began at least 12 million years ago and represents an adaptation of equids both to their significant increase in body size and to open landscapes requiring rapid locomotion. However, the development of the astragalus, talus, restricted maneuverability in more enclosed habitats, a limitation that may have appeared even in very early equids. Further changes occurred in the skull, including an overall increase in size, encompassing the brain case, as well as extensive modifications to the dental apparatus and the anterior facial region. The earliest horse representatives from the Eocene, such as Siforpus, possessed the complete dentition of modern mammals, consisting of 3 incisors, 1 canine, 4 premolars, and 3 molars on each jaw arch. While the number of equid teeth changed only slightly, modern horses typically lack the canine and the foremost premolar. The rear row of teeth, including premolars and molars, shifted forward in relation to the position of the orbit and the symphysis, without significantly increasing the length of the dental row. In early horse representatives, the orbital cavity was located above the first or second molar. In modern horses, it is above or slightly behind the last molar. This forward shift of the posterior dentition resulted from the horse's dietary transition from soft to tougher plant material, favoring the development of high-crowned teeth, particularly during the Miocene. These changes also enlarged the areas for masticatory muscles due to alterations in the anterior facial region. Interestingly, these evolutionary changes are only partially evident in modern domestic horses depending on the size of individual breeds, possibly due to differing final phases of ontogenetic development within these breeds. A distinctive feature of horses is their high-crowned molars, with 3 to 4 premolars and 3 molars per jaw arch. The foremost premolar is often absent in modern horses. High-crowned teeth wear down due to the intense mechanical stress of chewing tough grasses. Typically, only the upper portion of the tooth protrudes from the alveolus, while the remainder stays embedded in the dental socket and is gradually pushed out as needed. The root is short and open, closing only once the tooth is almost completely worn down. A noticeable increase in root size can also be observed. It is suggested that the portion of the tooth crown remaining in the socket functions as a replacement root, mitigating shear forces during chewing. A larger root becomes necessary only when the crown is almost entirely worn out. Modern horses exhibit only slight sexual dimorphism. Maras differ from stallions by being slightly smaller and either lacking or having much smaller canines. Sexual differences are challenging to determine in the earliest horses. However, by the Miocene, notable distinctions in canines could be seen, for instance, in Myohippus or Hipparion, where male specimens developed canines twice the length of females. Some researchers propose that the enlargement of male canines correlates with the development of the stallion face, a mimic expression similar to flamen response, involving raised lips, flattened ears, and an extended head, making the canines clearly visible in mating-ready males. This behavior might date back as far as 20 million years. The current distribution of wild horses spans Eurasia to Africa, predominantly occupying open habitats ranging from boreal steppe landscapes to tropical savannas. They inhabit both lowland and mountainous regions, as well as highlands exceeding 4,000 meters above sea level. Earlier horse representatives had a much broader distribution. The family originated in North America, with adaptations to open landscapes leading to an unprecedented spread of equids. By the late Miocene, around 5 million years ago, this expansion encompassed about a dozen genera. From North America, they spread to their present habitats, reaching Eurasia in the early Miocene roughly 20 million years ago. Africa was first reached in the late Miocene, at least 5 million years ago, while South America was colonized in the late Pliocene following the formation of the Isthmus of Panama around 3 million years ago. Only Oceania and Antarctica remain outside the natural range of equity, though members of the horse family successfully colonized diverse biotopes. Early equids were primarily found in closed or semi-open forest landscapes, only later evolving into the highly specialized openland inhabitants known today. Broadly, two different social behavior models can be distinguished. Some modern horses, such as Przewalski's horse, domestic horses, mountain zebras, and plains zebras, live in stable herds or group formations usually led by a dominant stallion. These harems typically consist of 3 to 6 members, occasionally more, but generally fewer than 10 individuals arranged in hierarchical ranks. Mating occurs mostly within the group, while younger males sometimes form bachelor groups. In both types of social groups, hierarchy is determined by dominance. The territories of these groups are often extensive, exceeding 10 square kilometers and sometimes over 100 square kilometers. Boundaries and heavily used pathways are marked by the dominant male with feces and urine. Such herd structures are predominantly found in dry regions with seasonal changes and fluctuating food availability. In contrast, Grevy's zebras and African and Asian donkeys lead territorial, solitary lifestyles, defending their territories from conspecifics. While temporary herd formations may occur, these are highly unstable, and generally, only mare foal groups exist. This type of social structure is found in areas with less variable food supplies and without pronounced climatic seasonality. It is believed that this lifestyle of mother-offspring associations and solitary males is the more primitive one, also present in the earliest horses. Stable herd formations likely developed later during the Miocene with the emergence of open landscapes. Modern horses typically live 20 to 25 years, though maximum ages of up to 40 years are known in captivity. Since mammalian lifespan strongly correlates with body size, the smallest early horses, weighing sometimes less than 10 kilograms, likely had a shorter maximum lifespan. Experts estimate around 3 to 4 years for these representatives. As body size increased, lifespan gradually extended. However, it remains unclear how lifespan was affected in subsequently dwarfed fossil horses like Psittoperion. Predators of modern horses mainly include large cats, but wolves and hyenas also pose threats. All current equids are specialized in hard, silica-rich plant diets, favoring grasses as their primary food source. Their predominant habitats are sparsely forested, open terrains, making them the most specialized odd-toed ungulates living today. The high silica content of tough grasses, in the form of embedded opal phytoliths, quickly wears down teeth. Horses developed high-crowned, hypsodont teeth with enamel folds on the chewing surface and a high cement content to protect against excessive abrasion. Additionally, typical horizontal grinding patterns appear on their teeth. Dental wear studies on molars suggest that some equus species, particularly during the Pleistocene, may have adapted to mixed diets, including soft plant materials alongside tough grass. However, the earliest horse representatives from the Eocene were more suited to fruit-based diets, as indicated by their low-crowned, brachiodont molars, high enamel content, and distinctive bunodont cusps on the chewing surfaces. Their preferred habitats included more closed or semi-open forest landscapes. By the Oligocene, teeth evolved to feature still relatively low crowns but markedly elevated and transversely arranged enamel ridges, lophodont, indicating a stronger shift toward leaf-rich plant diets. The first horse representatives with high-crowned molars appeared in the early Miocene, at least 18 million years ago, primarily belonging to the lineage of the more modern equine. However, some of the older evolutionary equids from the subfamily Ankytherini also showed early developments of hypsodont teeth. This process of forming high-crowned teeth coincided with climatic changes during this period, leading to drier and cooler conditions and the simultaneous spread of open savanna and steppe landscapes. It was associated with an increase in dental cement and significant folding of enamel. However, this development did not encompass all early horse representatives. Some continued to rely on soft diets, while others specialized in mixed plant consumption. Like all odd-toed ungulates, horses are hindgut fermenters, digesting the bulk of their ingested food in the cecum and colon with the help of numerous microorganisms. The digestive tract is consequently extremely large, with modern horses able to accommodate over 210 liters. Evidence of such digestive systems as a very ancient development can be seen in fossil finds from the Messel pit in the Middle Eocene. Here, bacterial imprints, bacteriography, revealed parts of the internal organs of the early horse-like Halencia, confirming the presence of a very large cecum. This supports the hypothesis that the earliest odd-toed ungulates practiced a similar form of food processing. The evolutionary history of horses is among the best documented within mammals through fossil finds. It is considered a prime example of gradual evolutionary change, characterized by the transition from small, multi-toed, leaf-eating forest dwellers to long-legged, single-toed grass eaters. However, this development was not linear. It often led to the emergence of sidelines and evolutionary dead ends, highlighting the selective and partial nature of the fossil record. The origin and much of horse evolution took place in North America, though individual representatives repeatedly migrated to other continents, forming independent lineages. General evolutionary trends include not only overall size increase but also adaptations to open landscapes, such as changes in the locomotor apparatus and the development of high-crowned teeth as an adaptation to tough grass diets. The development of high-crowned teeth also necessitated further changes in the facial skull to accommodate larger masticatory muscles. These adaptations occurred independently in various horse lineages. One of the earliest and most well-known horse-like animals is Hyracotherium, formerly synonymous with Eohippus, which is now recognized as an independent genus of early horses. From the Eocene, a small forest animal with a shoulder height of only around 20 centimeters that chewed leaves and fruits with its small, four-cusped molars. The systematic classification of Hyracotherium remains disputed. The oldest definite representative of the horse family is Siphorpus, which lived in North America at the beginning of the Eocene, nearly 56 million years ago. It strongly resembled Hyracotherium, some species of which were originally assigned to Siphorpus. This early horse likely had close evolutionary ties to basal odd-toed ungulates like Halencia or similar forms, some of which still closely aligned with the Paleotheriidae. It inhabited open forests and fed primarily on soft plant diets. Siphorpus led to descendants such as Pliolophus, though only a few skeletal elements are known. Another successor, Orohippus, differed from Pliolophus in its dental and toe structure and likely began favoring somewhat tougher plant diets. The genus lived around 50 million years ago in North America. Its descendant, Epihippus, which lived approximately 47 million years ago, was also confined to North America. Nearly contemporaneous with the earliest North American horses, an early representative, Erehippus, appeared in Asia. This form was identified in 2018 based on several jaw remains from the Lingcha Formation in Hunan Province, China. From early Hyracotheran horses like Orohippus and Epihippus, the subfamily Ankytherini evolved in the Oligocene. One of its earliest representatives was the genus Mesohippus, which emerged in North America during the late Eocene around 40 million years ago. This horse stood about 60 centimeters tall at the shoulder and weighed an average of 42 kilograms. Its back was less curved than its predecessors, and its legs, neck, and facial skull were longer. Notably, the intermaxillary bone extended, increasing the gap, diastema, between the front and back teeth. Mesohippus had 3 functional toes on both front and back limbs, with a rudimentary 4th toe on the front. Like its predecessors, it still walked on pads. Around the beginning of the Oligocene, approximately 35 million years ago, Mesohippus gave rise to the genus Myohippus. This horse was larger, weighing about 54 kilograms, and had a slightly longer skull. During the Miocene, the climate underwent significant changes. In North America, conditions became drier, forests diminished, and open grasslands emerged. This led to a crucial evolutionary trend in horses. Gradually adapting to the new steppe landscape conditions, they became larger to move more quickly across open terrain. As they transitioned from leaf-based to grass-based diets, they developed larger tooth-crowned surfaces, with later representatives further increasing crown height. However, the teeth of Ankithorinae were not as high-crowned as those of later horse representatives. Following the Oligocene forms, Mesohippus, Myohippus, Miocene genera of Ankithorinae in North America experienced a notable increase in body size, with Calabohippus reaching around 400 kilograms. The genus Ankytherium, which gave the subfamily its name, crossed the Bering Land Bridge into Eurasia. It was the first horse genus to recolonize this continent after the disappearance of early horse-like forms in the Eocene. Ankytherium ranged from China to Spain but left no surviving descendants. Other North American genera of Ankythorines, such as Parahippus, which appeared about 23 million years ago, evolved into ancestors of modern horses. Parahippus still had 3 toes but had longer teeth than its predecessors. About 18 million years ago, it gave rise to Merychippus, which is already classified within the same subfamily, Equinae, as modern horses. Merychippus stood about 1 meter tall, and its facial skull closely resembled that of a modern horse. Although it retained 3 toes, it stood entirely on its toe tips. Its teeth had deep grooves and a thick enamel layer. From Merychippus-like animals, 2 evolutionary branches emerged, the Hipparionidae, which included genera such as Hipparion and Hippotherium, and the Equinae, to which modern species belong. While Merychippus remained confined to North America, Hipparionine horses like Cormohipparion migrated about 12 million years ago across the Bering Land Bridge into Eurasia, replacing Ankytherium. A subsequent significant diversification of 3-toed horses in Eurasia led to forms such as Hippotherium and Shanxihippus. Cormohipparion was the first horse representative to reach the African continent. In the Upper Miocene, more endemic forms like Eurygnathohippus appeared there. The Hipparionini formed an extensively branched group, with some members adapted to life in denser forests. They retained 3-toed front and hind limbs but could switch between slower 1-toed and faster 3-toed locomotion. Based on various trace fossils from North America and Africa, it has been shown that some forms, such as Hipparion or Scaphohippus, were apparently capable of gaits like the tolt or ambling gait, which today are predominantly associated with domesticated horses. This suggests that these early horses exhibited a broader spectrum of gaits than what is seen in today's wild horses. Within the Equinae, which continued to evolve in North America, the lateral toes gradually disappeared. One of their oldest representatives was Pliohippus, which lived around 15 million years ago in North America. It already resembled modern horses and was single-toed. Dinohippus, from the Upper Miocene and Pliocene of North America, is considered the ancestor of the genera Equus, Harringtonhippus, and Hippidion. These 3 genera emerged during the Pliocene, beginning approximately 5 million years ago. Unlike later horse genera, Dinohippus still had the skull depressions in front of the eyes typical of Miocene horses, the function of which remains unknown. Equus was the only representative of horses in the strict sense, tribe Equinae, to migrate from North America to Eurasia approximately 2.5 to 3 million years ago. These were members of the more primitive Equus forms, the so-called Stenonine horses, named after the extinct early Pleistocene species Equus stenonis. These horses quickly spread across Eurasia and had reached South Africa by no later than 2 million years ago. With the emergence of this advanced form, the older Hipparionine horses disappeared from the Old World, having already gone extinct in North America earlier. The Stenonine forms gave rise to modern zebras and donkeys. About 1.5 million years ago, or slightly later, the first cabal-line horses of the genus Equus, also referred to as true horses, named after Equus cabalis, the modern domestic horse, reached Eurasia from North America, forming the ancestral stock of today's semi-wild horses and domestic horses. In the Americas, horses of the genera Equus, Hippidion, and Harrington hippus went extinct during the Quaternary extinction event, disappearing by no later than 10,000 years ago. That's it for now. In the next episode, we'll take a closer look at slow